Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Stout Field here at Fort Bliss, Texas, in the 11th edition of the World Military Women's Football Championship. I'm Van Stokes, and we're glad you could join us once again for the second game of today's action. Now, with 9 teams competing for the Women's Military World Cup, we turn back to action once again with this game coming out of Group A. It's going to be China going up against Canada. On this, the 7th day of competition, we want to remind you that this Military World Cup is being conducted by the Conseil International du Sport Militaire, which is known in English by its acronym CISM. Let's go now to our public address. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of CISM, the International Military Sports Council, welcome to Stout Field and the 7th day of competition in the 2018 World Military Women's Football Championship. As they come onto the pitch now for the second game tonight, would you please welcome the 2 teams from Group A? They are the women's military teams from China and Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask at this time, will you please rise for the playing of the national anthem of China, and please remain standing for the national anthem of Canada. Once again, with the CISM motto of friendship through sports, fully alive here at Fort Bliss, Texas, we wish the best for each of the teams in their challenge to win the 2018 Military World Cup. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this championship is being conducted as part of the Conseil International du Sport Militaire, known in English as the International Military Sports Council, and referred to around the world by its acronym CISM. With 138 member countries, CISM conducts more than 20 military world championships for its member nations every year, all under the motto of friendship through sports. This year marks the 70th anniversary of CISM, which was founded in 1948 with 5 original countries. Today, CISM has grown into the second largest multi-sport organization in the world, second only to the Olympic Games. Again, best of luck to our teams tonight in their pursuit to win the Women's Military World Cup. So there's the introduction of the teams, the march out on the field, and the playing of the national anthems. Our officials for tonight: In the center of the field, it's going to be Lizzie Vanderhelm from the Netherlands. First assistant, Alicia Messer from the United States. Yang Sun-yong from Korea. And Stefan Tleiber from Germany will be the fourth official. In the goal tonight for China, it's going to be Cui Ji. She'll be joined on the field by Wang Ri, Lin Yuping, Tan Xuan, Zhu Zhan, Li Yan, Yao Wei, Lu Yangen, Lin Yuyun, Yang Li, and Wang Yanfi. And let's take a quick look at the starting lineups if we can. Well, I double-checked last name on a lot of things. We don't just go by Matt. I'm going to use your last name, too. Let me give you the starting lineup if I can. First of all, for Canada, in the goal, it's going to be Alex Hogg. She'll be joined by Melissa Chiron, Jessica Hahn, Alex Childs, Shauna Mackey, Renee McClellan, Joycelyn Coe, Kate Serrell, Laura Imhoff, Emma Owen, and Valerie Tillriel. That's the way they're going to line up for Canada. Joining me right now, Matthew Orlowski, representing the Fort Bliss Community Recreation Division Sports Branch. And Matt, what are your thoughts on the soccer? You're a soccer player. You spent half your life in Germany. You've played soccer in Germany. You have seen it at the highest level. What are your thoughts about the competition that you've seen in this tournament thus far?
Well, Mr. Stokes, I'm genuinely impressed with the soccer that I've seen on display here in this tournament between these teams, and also genuinely surprised in some of the country, the level of soccer ability that some of these countries have displayed during this tournament. Coming to this tournament, I think obvious favorites when people think of soccer, you think about countries like Germany that are here today, Brazil and France as well, which have played pretty well. But I've been mostly impressed by some of these Asian countries, like China we're seeing play tonight, had a very dominant performance in their other games during this tournament.
You got China now out in the red jerseys. They've got the black trunks and the red socks. And then Canada, they got their white jerseys, black trunks. They've got the white socks. What impresses you about China?
Oh, the way they move as a unit down the field. I'm not with that pass right there, for example, but for the most part, they seem to have a very good. They function very well as a unit. Of course, there's a lot of individual talented players out there, but right now, if you can watch them move the ball up the field the way they are, they're moving from right to left, pass in the middle. That's probably been the most impressive attribute I think when it comes to China, is their ability to play together as a team, and that's been giving a lot of other teams here at this tournament a lot of competition.
You generally think of control soccer from the European teams, i.e. you think of France, you think of the Netherlands, and we saw control soccer earlier on in the Republic of Korea versus the Netherlands. And so you really don't know what to think when you got the teams from Korea and China coming into this country. Shot down to the right side, and it's going to drift a little bit wide. But really, they typify control soccer with high skill and technique, do they not? I'm talking about, of course, the team from China.
Yeah, they do. And when the team first arrived, I was able to meet their translator. They have one person traveling with the team as a translator to speak English. And when I asked him about it, he said, this is their first time participating in CISM, and they wanted to come out here, kind of see how other countries participate, and they want to give it their best shot. And I think they impressed a lot of people early on in the tournament, especially with their victory against USA, the home team, when they won 3-0.
Well, the translator you're talking about, his name is Sean Ding. He does a superb job. I asked Sean, I said, how many times have you been to the United States? He said, one time. But when you listen to him translate and speak English, he does a marvelous job.
Oh, yeah. And if he wasn't here, it would make things a lot more difficult with the Chinese team. They haven't been, they're not necessarily high maintenance, but when you don't have somebody who can speak the local language, it makes things more difficult.
You're saying when you can't communicate, there's always going to be problems.
Exactly.
Communication, the lifeblood that kind of holds everything together. Speaking of communication, you've had a lot of communication in and around the Fort Bliss community in order to set up hosting responsibilities for this tournament. Talk about what it's been like for Fort Bliss to host this tournament.
Well, when we first got word that we'd be hosting this tournament, everyone was that I work with was very excited. it seems like over the years here at Fort Bliss, we've been given more and more opportunities to host events like this. And, we came out with a game plan. Having a soccer background like mine, I was heavily involved with putting together, formulating this plan on hosting this tournament, getting the teams here, having logistical support, getting them around the barracks and the different practice fields. But long story short, it came from, a game plan that we've just been able to execute perfectly, and we've been getting a lot of positive feedback from the participants here, and it's making all of us here at Fort Bliss, especially in the MWR Sports, Fitness, and Aquatics branch, been making us very happy to get that positive feedback.
That's a good thing. Ball goes out on the far side. What's been the most rewarding thing for you, Matt?
Well, not just for me, but I'll speak for my employees, the people that I work with, is just working together with these different countries, being the host nation, and it starts from picking them up at the airport, taking them to the barracks, and then we have several individuals acting as guides that we refer to as L&Os for the team. Each team has a soldier detailed to more or less taking them around Fort Bliss and the El Paso community, and just showing they're all coming from different countries, different cultures, and the most rewarding thing is just, like I said, being together with these teams, seeing the joy that they're having during the games and after the games, and they're not as thrilled about the heat here in El Paso.
Who is?
But we've been able to make up with it for some of the other more impressive attributes we have here at Fort Bliss. It is a big installation. That was the first thing that they noticed and commented on.
Yes.
And we have areas of posts like the Freedom Crossing, which is more or less an outdoor mall that you won't see. It's not paralleled by any other military installation.
So they're getting a look at America, and when I talked to the translator, Sean Ding, he told me that there's only 4 or 5 on this team that have even been to America before. And so what they are seeing is America for the first time, and it's going to create a lasting impression and a lasting memory, not just of this military installation, but America as a whole. And they're in for a treat on the 4th of July. I mean, they're going to see something on the 4th of July here that they maybe haven't seen in a lot of places. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, it's going to be great. We have here at Fort Bliss, we call it Pop Goes the Fort, and every year it's a very big event. We have a lot of people from the El Paso community that come on post and participate as well. It's a great atmosphere. It's a ton of people. It's going to be a lot more people here this year with the different countries that have traveled here. But I think they're really going to enjoy themselves. And most importantly for us, we've been told, that's a holiday. Even for the staff that have been working hard to put this tournament together, that's going to be a day for all of us to kind of get together with the teams and celebrate the 4th of July. There's going to be a lot of good food, music, and I really hope the teams coming from other countries really enjoy the event that we're going to put together for them.
Well, by the time they depart El Paso on the 5th of July, they will have had a taste of America and seen the El Paso Symphonic Orchestra playing the 1812 Overture, the 50-gun salute, and they will walk up and down amidst the 20 to 25,000 people, and they will get a feel for the United States of America and all the things that we celebrate on the 4th of July. So that's a good touch.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you got a couple of teams that I like to say are just kind of, getting their bearings one against the other, seeing what the strengths, seeing what the weaknesses might be. I'm looking for China, though. They've had a pretty good breakaway down the left side, and in particular, Zhu Shan has been in position for a couple of shots. But now here comes Canada. Kate Serrell, she's the forward. If they get it to Serrell near the middle of the field, Serrell can convert. But China comes back on defense. Watching Korea and also watching China, I got to say they came in pretty good condition. I mean, they're not running out of gas. They're able to get up and down the field.
Yeah, and of course, being here in El Paso, we are up in the altitude. We are in the mountain time zone. And being up in the altitude, not only is it hot and dry here, but being up in the altitude, the sun here is brutal. But we've informed the teams as they arrived at the airport, don't skip a day of sunscreen. You'll regret it. And I think for the most part, China and South Korea have been able to acclimate to the altitude and the heat pretty well. It doesn't really seem to affect their game too much. As you see, they're just moving the ball across the field left and right now.
And here comes Zhu Shan. I talked about her. You got a little breakaway coming straight down the middle, but Alex Hogg comes out of the goal in pretty good shape. And you got China kind of starting to turn up the pressure. Now, we know what you do when you are working around the pitch here. with CISM in support of this, enlighten our listeners and viewers around the world. You're a sports specialist. Tell us what you do with soldiers in terms of programs here at Fort Bliss.
Well, here at Fort Bliss, I'm primarily responsible for coordinating the sports program, the active duty intramural sports league we have here for the 1st Armor Division, which is the biggest unit we have here at Fort Bliss. And it's most of our sports we play at the company level. For layman terms, the Army's usually, the units will be divided. Largest unit under the division would be the brigades, then the battalions, and then the companies. And at the company level, there's a couple hundred soldiers in each company that will put together either a softball team for softball season, which we're currently in, or basketball. We have soccer, indoor soccer, volleyball, variety of team and individual sports for the units to compete in. And the way we do it here, it's referred to as the Commander's Cup, where throughout the year they'll participate in a variety of team and individual sports. The units will collect points for each of those sports they participate in, and if they get 1st, 2nd, or 3rd place, and at the end of the year, one brigade will come out as the Commander's Cup victor. And that's an annual competition that we have here at Fort Bliss every year.
So it gives them a lot of incentive, and then, of course, at the end of the year, they are recognized both for their participation and their achievements in terms of unit-level sports. And the name of the game in military sports has always been to play down at the lowest practical level. Sometimes you might even be able to have intra-company competition, but a lot of times the lowest practical level might be a battalion, and then depending on the sport, you might have a BCT or a brigade-sized element that would be competing one against another. So it's the makeup of it. It's what I call the pyramid. And then, of course, Matt, it all builds up to national and international competition, and that's what we're seeing out here right now with these military teams. The top of the pyramid in military sports representing the United States in this international competition. Good shot on goal, but nice job by Alex Hogg that time, who stepped right in the middle and picked up the shot that came off the foot of Azuz Shan. She's pretty active.
Yeah, and of course, like you said, it all kind of culminates to the all-military level. We do have several athletes here at Fort Bliss that participate in our intramural sports here at Fort Bliss that also apply, and some of them have played for either get onto the all-Army team, and then from there you only have opportunities to move up to the all-military team to compete at the CISM level, and so on.
There's also a world-class athlete program with the Army, too, that after you come out of All-Army and you're recognized as a national and international caliber athlete, that there is the possibility that you could be assigned to a unit that is a part of the world-class athlete program, in which you would come under the tutelage, if you will, of national-level, international-level coaches as you would prepare for world championships, international competition, with the penultimate experience being the Olympic Games. So that is the way they all set up within the military. Trey Ji out of the goal for China. She'll get it back downfield. Tan Shan will bring it down the left side. She'll go back once again. Lin Yu Ping back on the left side. Tan Shan running down the left side. And there's a long pass. Alex Hogg's going to back up, and she'll take it in the goal area. Now, this team trained, not this team, but the United States team trained here at Fort Bliss, and you had a lot of engagement and involvement with that. They had a number of scrimmages and a number of practices in order to select the team. Talk about what that 3-week trial period, lack of better description, was like. Number one, they had to show up in shape, correct?
Correct.
And then after that, they had to show how they could fit in as a member of this team, i.e. with their skill level.
Yeah, correct. So the training camp was good for the staff as well to kind of rehearse what how the tournament would go. The roughly 35-40 women traveled here to Fort Bliss to try out for the USA team, a combination of service women from the Air Force, Navy, Army, and Marines. Ultimately, the coach had to cut the roster down to about half of those players, down to 20-21 players that we see here during the tournament. But yeah, during their training camp, we were able to schedule about 10 scrimmages with local women's club teams here in El Paso. And the way the coach had requested was kind of have a progression level. You know, start the first 3 scrimmages with more amateur teams and work their way up to their final and 10th scrimmage was against a U19 boys club team, which he said would ultimately prepare them for some of the stronger teams in this tournament, where they could really just focus on working together as a unit on defense and just having a very strong and stable defense. But we were able to get some unique teams out here. Of course, Fort Bliss women's soccer team participated. We were able to get a team from the University of Juarez from our neighbors right across the border to come out and play, as well as a brand new semi-professional team that will be standing up in March, which we'll also be getting a semi-professional men's team. Now, we knew about the men's team. We didn't know about the women's team.
And they were actually in attendance here last night as well.
Yeah, and they got word of our scrimmage schedule and asked if they could get on, and we said absolutely. You know, it was all in preparation for this tournament for the USA team, like how we could best prepare them for the competition they're going to see on the field in this tournament. And it's been stiff competition. So it was a great training camp. The girls, like I said, there's 40 of them. They trained hard. They did 2 and 3 days. Girls were mentioning that they were getting, you know, flashbacks from 2 and 3 days when they were playing soccer in college, and especially here in El Paso in the middle of the day, in the middle of the heat, it's not easy. We had plenty of fluids out here to stay hydrated, and they more or less would use the hydration system sometimes not to drink, but to cool off their feet. Because here in El Paso, the turf is absorbing that sunlight all day for hours, and it gets really warm.
Not necessarily from the head down as much as it might be from the feet up, right up through the legs and into the body.
Yeah, and that's something that the other international teams have been struggling with, as well as they've been practicing during the days. We've been playing the games in the evening, but during the day it's pretty high here in El Paso, especially in June.
We're moving into the 15-minute mark of the first half in this game between China and Canada. And possession-wise, it's been down on the ball's been in possession of China throughout most of this first 15 minutes or so, Matt. But, you know, we just saw the Korea-Netherlands game, and overwhelmingly, at least the majority of possession went to Korea, but they couldn't score the goal. They couldn't get it in. They had marvelous opportunities. And I'm starting to sense a similar thing here in this contest right here. I think that China has been on the attack, but Canada stepping up defensively, just like the Netherlands stepped up defensively against Korea.
Yeah, the Netherlands more or less built an orange wall in front of their goal. Made it very difficult for Korea to even find chances, and when they did, weren't able to score any goals. We see some opportunities right here, but again, just snuffed out by the Canada's defense. But you know what I think Canada's going to have to capitalize on here is what soccer has transformed into over the years. When I was younger and I was playing soccer.
Wait a minute. When you were younger?
When I was younger.
You know, you're still in my book in the category that is called young, okay?
All right.
Just about everybody is in my book, so that's okay.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm relatively young, but I learned early on when I started hitting my mid-20s, there were guys in my club that were 18 years old coming up through the youth level, and I was a winger myself. I used to run up and down the field on the left and right side. But once I got to my mid-20s and we had 17, 18-year-old kids coming up through the ranks, they were just quicker than me.
Speaking of quickness, here comes China right side. What a dive, and it is just off the side. That they're going to count that. I can't see it from here, but that is a goal for China. Waited for the call, looked for the official to signal, but it was a great shot from the right side, and the goal goes in for China. They take a 1-0 lead right now over Canada. Couldn't tell from way up here in the press box in the middle of the field whether that had gone to the outside of the net or in the net, but reading the goalie signal, the official signal, that is a goal for China. And they pressed and they pressed, they attacked and they attacked. That shot came from the right side. We'll get the scores number for you, but give China a 1-0 lead right now over Canada. And that's the relentless kind of attack. You talked about you being a striker. You talked about you being a winger. That's really what helped set up that particular play just then.
Yeah.
That play from that kind of position.
Yeah, and China, this is a perfect start to the game for China to go scoring a goal early in the first half of the game. They should be feeling pretty comfortable right now.
That was a shot by Liu Yangquin. Yu Younggwen from China, number 15. She picks up her second goal of the tournament.
And what I was going to say shortly before that goal is the way I've seen soccer change over probably the last decade. When I was younger and playing soccer, the central midfielder used to be the key component of a team. Everything used to run directly through the central midfielder, and he would feed it from the defense to the forwards. But now what you're seeing is very popular and common in today's soccer game.
Credit Hogg, she came out of the goal and stopped that charge. Continue on. What you're seeing today
is there's a lot of teams that will capitalize on the counterattack, and instead of moving the ball through the center midfielder, they're moving it up the wings. And you see a lot of successful soccer teams today. They have really fast players that play on the right and left wing, and on those counterattacks, you see teams like China that are playing a lot of offense, but next thing you know, Canada get the ball. If they're able to get it to one of their fast wingers on the side, they can make a pretty successful counterattack. I think that's what Canada needs to focus on right now.
I think those on the wings that stood out for me in this tournament was Brazil.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we saw a lot of that last night.
A lot of quick play up the side. And you get thwarted a lot of times when you're going to group up in the center of the field and the ball will change possession back and forth. This is Canada trying to come up the center of the field. The play is Lee Yan. And down on the field that time went Shauna Mackey. So China maintains possession. They're going to come down on the right side. And it's early on, of course, Matt, but should China be able to jam another one in the goal, to fall on the backside of a 2-0 lead with really only 20 minutes gone in the game, that's tough. That's a tough 1-2 punch to kind of bounce back out of.
Oh yeah, it's not going to get any easier for Canada. They're just going to have to make the best of their opportunities that they get from this point forward. Continue to play strong defense, and like I said, maybe hope for the counterattack if they're able to get anything going here.
Well, we've talked about the challenges and we've talked about the rewards. I'd like to know what the biggest surprise for you is by being involved with this. What has surprised you the most?
Oh, man, surprised me the most?
Now, a man, you're still a young man, but you have been around, played soccer in Europe, and you understand the game, and you also understand the international community to a very, very large degree. So I'm not going to say that, there are any great surprises perhaps, but nonetheless, what has caught your attention the most that you weren't expecting perhaps?
You know what? Yeah, there hasn't been too many great surprises, and like I said, in preparation for this tournament, when we were hosting the USA team for their training camp, the coach, who's been a part of CISM for years now, has been to several of these competitions. I was able to more or less pick his brain on, what to expect from the tournament, what to expect from the officials.
You're talking about Derek Wayne from the Air Force.
Yep, Derek Wayne, and just how to kind of prepare for this and what to expect from the teams. And he more or less said, each team obviously coming from different corners, different continents, different countries, they're all going to operate a little bit differently. But honestly, if I had to say any surprise, I would say, like I said, we had a game plan for hosting this tournament. We haven't hosted an international soccer tournament here at Fort Bliss before, and I'm more or less surprised at how we've been able to handle it.
Here we go, left side. The winger down the side on the left from China gets by one, sets up a shot, and it's a goal! China! What a play coming down the left side. Had to dribble around one, got inside, and then she had pretty much of a wide open shot. There was not much that Alex Hogg could do on that.
Yeah, it looks like, unfortunately for Alex Hogg, it looks like it took an unfortunate bounce, but a fortunate bounce from China off a few players to kind of bounce in the goal right there.
So they take a 2-0 lead. That shot came off the foot of Zhu Shan. So the second goal for China comes in the 22-minute mark.
Yeah, and I don't think China's going to let up a little bit here either. I think they're playing the game exactly how they want to play it.
No, and it's funny, we just talked about that a second ago, because you can kind of sense it and you can kind of smell it. You can tell, you can see the momentum. You can see when things are starting to pick up, and I quite honestly thought that China was not that far away from possibly scoring their second goal, and then in a couple of minutes after we talk about it, they actually make it a reality.
Yeah. And Canada's actually still hoping for their first goal of this tournament. They had their opening game was a tie against the Netherlands, 0-0, and then they a 1-0 loss against the USA. But here's an opportunity for them. They're in the box.
They can score a quick goal if they can. Canada really could regain a sense of composure, not just composure, but confidence is what I'm looking for.
And here comes China again.
Running down the right side. You look for the cross pass, the dribble. Back to the center. They are controlling it nicely. Long shot. It's going to drift to the left.
And like I said, this is where I've been impressed, I guess, the most is from these teams from Asia, from South Korea and China. Because like I said, traditionally soccer, you hear the European names, the Germanys, the Frances, the Brazils. On the national stage, those are the big dogs. You don't hear too much from China and South Korea when it comes to soccer. But here at the Women's Military World Cup at Fort Bliss, China and South Korea have showed up, and they're here to play, and they're hoping to win a few medals as well.
Well, you're 100% correct, Matt, and that is in the World Cup currently ongoing from Russia right now. You don't see China. You don't see the United States. They're not in it. But they have an opportunity here in the Women's Military World Cup to make a splash on the international stage and capture some attention, perhaps. But the culture is changing in America, is it not? More towards a soccer culture. And, of course, I'm not going to say, here comes China again, by the way, straight down the center of the field this time, not from the outside. Now they get it to the outside. That's where they like to work from. A long shot on the outside that's going to head to the right of the goal and go out of bounds beyond the goal line. But I'm not going to say that soccer is going to replace the NFL. I'm not going to say that Major League Baseball will fall from being the national pastime. But what I am saying is that you're seeing the growth of a sport in this country, really, that is the most popular sport around the world, with all countries, with one exception, that being the United States of America.
Yeah, and we've seen it mostly in the MLS. There's been an expansion of several new franchises. And here comes China again.
China again! Go China!
Wow.
They are hammering Canada right now.
Yeah, and they've been practicing those long shots now. They've had about 3 long shots, and that one just went in right out the post. You can tell from the goalkeeper Hoag's reaction that she probably thought it was going to go wide of the goal, but must have had enough English on it to hit the post and go in.
That is Lu Yangwin's second goal of the night to go along with Zhu Shan's goal to give China a 3-0 lead. And they are turning up the pressure right now. So here's something to consider, Matt. You're going to have Korea probably coming out of Group A, China coming out of Group A. They're going to play each other on the 30th of June. And who's to say that the goal differential, goals for and goals against, couldn't figure in the final standings? It could.
Right, it could be the deciding factor between who gets first and second between South Korea and China. But I think we're in for a real treat at the end of this week, because the last game day for Group A is going to be decided between South Korea and China. So unless that ends in a draw, goal differential will not be a factor.
No, that just sets itself up on the draw. And the draw was made at the CISM General Assembly, so everybody knew coming in here pretty much who was going to be in Group A and who was going to be in Group B. And again, that was a result of the draw. But the nice thing about it, as you just mentioned, is it's going to set itself up on the 30th of June for Korea and China. And that's a doubleheader that night, because the USA is going to take on the Netherlands, and then Korea is going to take on China. And I think you're going to see 2 more good soccer games.
Yeah, all the games have been fun to watch. Here comes China again.
China's again knocking on the door, but Alex Hogg comes out this time and smothers the ball, gets it in.
Yeah, it's been a great tournament so far, and we've really been marketing it to the El Paso community as well, and getting, supporters to come out and watch these games, and we've been getting a pretty good turnout. And that's, of course, I haven't been to other CISM's Women's World Cups before, but getting feedback from the USA coach who has been to other tournaments, he says for the Women's Military World Cup, this is a pretty good turnout for spectators.
Well, again, a lot of spectators would either have a hard time seeing some of the military CISM-oriented events, or they might not be able to identify with their country's team, or they might not understand the military pentathlon or some of the other events that take place. But again, nice header to clear it out from near the goal. But China takes over. Shot. What a save by Hogg. What a nice job, Hogg. A diving save by Alex Hogg. Otherwise, China was looking at its fourth goal. But my point, once again, is identification with the sport. You've got to appreciate it. And again, the people of El Paso do.
Oh yeah, and as I mentioned, we have a minor league baseball team here in El Paso, the El Paso Chihuahuas, and the owner decided recently he wanted to get a soccer team here to El Paso. Of course, I would say with El Paso being so close to the Mexican border, there are a lot of people here that really appreciate the game of soccer. It looks like they're going to take their water break right now.
They are. They're going to head over to the side. They're going to get the 1-minute water break. I want to remind you that we're looking forward to tomorrow. The 2018 CISM Women's World Football Championship coverage will resume. It's a Group B match tomorrow. Bahrain will take on Germany. That's going to be at 8 p.m. here in El Paso time. That's Mountain Time in the United States. 10 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock on the West Coast. Remember, check into Armed Forces Sports social media channels like Facebook and Twitter for the latest live stream listings. And as always, visit armedforcesports.com. That's armedforcesports.com for the latest match schedules. Take a look at our unofficial stats up here in the booth. China has really, in the first part of this first half, scored 3 goals, one at the 16-minute mark, and that was off the foot of Liu Yangguin. One at the 22-minute mark, that was put in the net by Zhu Zhan, and then Liu Yangguin comes back again at the 25-minute mark and scores the 3rd goal. And so as we head to the water break, it's 3-0 China. You take a look at the shots on goal. 8 shots on goal for China. 4 saves by Alex Hogg, the Canadian goalkeeper, and Canada credited with no shots on goal.
Yeah, and looking at these results, you got to wonder what some of these countries' soccer teams are doing differently. When you see teams, we know Canada before this tournament was able to train for a few weeks in Calgary.
Yeah.
But I've been told by teams like China and South Korea, these teams play mostly all year round together and in competitive leagues in their own country. So maybe that can't say that's ultimately what
makes a team.
Yeah.
When you play together like that.
Yeah. You could say that. You could argue that.
Exactly. You know, one of the words that you hear a lot in team sports is we've got team chemistry, but I just refer to it as good team relationships and good team building and good skills that work interdependently. Let me repeat that. Work interdependently with each other. And that's what we've seen from China. That's certainly what we've seen from Brazil. But take China. Most of them have played together for 2 to 3 years, and they may not be as powerful as some of these other teams, but they've got the personal skills. And it shows out there. And their ability to play together as a team, as a unit, is clearly evident. And that's the result of knowing each other and playing together for a number of years. Canada wants to see if it can mount an offense. It's going to go back to Hogg to try to set it back up. China going to try to work things this time a little bit slower, perhaps, over to the right side, then back to the center. Li Yan will kick it back to Lin Yuping. Yuping will go up the left side. Her left side goes to Tan Shan. Long forward pass by Tan Shan, and it's going to drift beyond the goal line.
Yeah, you got to wonder, when they took that water break, being up 3-0, going to the sideline, what the coach must have said to this Chinese team. Maybe they're working on a few other tactics that they haven't perfected yet at practice, and they're more or less using these opportunities because they look really comfortable out there on the field. They don't look like they're getting troubled too much by Canada to this point.
Now, are you still playing, or are you done your competitive career?
My career is over, sir. I more or less before I left Germany, I played. I coached for developmental soccer for years as well, and I began my officiating career in Germany. And moving here to Fort Bliss, I mean, we have one of the biggest sports programs in the Army. I definitely got my hands full of things to do. But I've been able to find time these past 2 years to actually start coaching high school soccer here in El Paso, and I've been pleasantly surprised. We have 29 high schools here in El Paso.
Wow.
And some of those are 6A schools, big schools. Their schools look like college campuses. And the soccer culture is great too. And what I've been telling people back home is when I referee a high school soccer game here in El Paso, the players, the coaches, the spectators, the other officials all speak Spanish as a primary language. That's been my biggest learning curve. It hasn't been adjusting to high school soccer and the speed of play, but it's been trying to pick up on some of the
language of your fellow officials, correct?
Right.
And I can imagine, too, that there's a lot of Spanish spoken perhaps among the players on the field.
Oh, of course. And you know what? That's also Coach Wayne from the USA team, when he requested these scrimmages for his training camp, one of his points of emphasis was, hey, can we get a team from Mexico to come and play? He thinks that would improve, give him more of a simulation of what it's going to be like when these teams have to play the other countries in this tournament.
And that's a good point. I mean, that's what we do in the military is we come as close to simulated training as we possibly can. And so when you hit downrange, you're going to be used to the tempo. You're going to be used to the way that the campaign's going to go. And so you're going to train like you're going to play. And you're going to give as much feeling as you can. That's a crossover, perhaps, between really training and whatever it might be and then competing on the sports field. As you practice, so will you play. That's the old philosophy.
Yeah, and that was the coach for the USA team's main focus. I mean, even for the scrimmages, he wanted the game times to be the exact game times that they'd be playing in this tournament so that they could really get their battle rhythm down. Meal time, prep time, walking to the locker rooms, just basically dress rehearsal for this tournament. And he, exactly like you said, train exactly how you want to perform out on the field. Unfortunately, USA's had some really tough teams in their group they've been matched up against, but I'm telling you, those ladies, for those 3 weeks they did their training camp, they trained hard.
It's a class act. USA is a class act. They may not be sitting atop their pool and they may not be in contention for a medal, but let's say this about the USA team. They have certainly played with heart and they have certainly played with class throughout this tournament. Give them that much credit. A lot of great athletes. And, in all honesty, Matt, you look at the makeup of our military right now, and with the Army, Air Force, Navy, and Marines on that team, you have to say I'm awful proud of the players on that team as they typify our United States military.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that some of the results of their first two games. Like I said, the way they've trained hard, and they've really prepared the best they could for this tournament. And you see, even after those games, those girls were pretty upset because you work hard, you train hard, you expect better results, but when the competition's this stiff, the best you can do is give it your all and know at the end of the day that you played your best for every other player on that team, because that's what soccer is, a team sport. You got a lot of great players, but you're never going to have one player take on another entire team of 11 players on the opposite side of the field. It's not going to happen.
No, you're going to have players that are going to stand out just like this. Here comes China right side, back over to the center. Shot is there, and it's going to drift. The deflection, it's going to go to the left side of the goal. China trying to get their fourth goal of the game. They send it just a little bit wide. No, it's a team sport, but you're going to have players on the field like Desjardins, who was in the goalkeeper, had a played a big role in the outcome of that last game. And then Kwan Ha-nul, who played on the national team of Korea for 14 years. I mean, these are people around whom everybody else kind of rotates. They just kind of play off the skills of those highly technical people.
Right, and I'll go back to what I said about it being a team sport. Of course, the players you're referring to, we like to refer to those players as impact players. Those are going to be the ones where you do more or less form your game plan around the strongest players on your team. You don't just see it in soccer, but you see it as mostly also in football and basketball, the way teams are kind of brought together. You got those. Every team has their impact player.
Here comes China. They're trying to set it up again. Good challenge right there. Who's going to come away with it? 3-on-1, and down goes one of the Canadian players. Foul against China, so free kick right now for Canada. Canada needs to get it back down the goal, or back down the field, I should say, and hopefully have an attempt and a shot on goal. It's mostly belonged to China here. We are presently in the 38th minute of this contest.
Yeah, and like I've said several times tonight, China just looked very comfortable out there. They've showed up here to the U.S. for their first Women's Military World Cup. And like I said, talking to the translator, they weren't exactly sure what to expect. They wanted to show up, participate, kind of see how the other teams do and how they'll fare. And I honestly got to say they've been faring pretty well against the competition.
Well.
Yeah,
they're going to be very possibly playing for a medal. Long shot over from the right side, looking for a header, but it doesn't happen. That came off of the foot of Tan Shan. Now, is it always this hot around here? I mean, we're talking 100 degrees, 103 degrees an hour before the game today. It goes down to maybe 77, something like that during the night. But El Paso is one hot place.
Yeah, especially right now during these months, during the summer months. This is typical hot summer in El Paso. Now, it does cool off in the winter. In fact, the 3 years that I've lived here in El Paso, each year we've had at least one snow day. We've actually get snow here in the desert.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, in the winter it'll get cold. We'll get some snow. Most days it'll get up to a high of about 70, 72 degrees, which is nice and comfortable. But yeah, the summers are very hot. But like I said, being up here in the altitude with the sun, I've refereed soccer games in the middle of December, and if I don't put sunscreen on, I'm gonna get burnt. So it cools off a little bit in the winter. We get some windy months in the spring, but the sun's always a factor here in El Paso. And that's like I said, as I was picking teams up from the airport, I was telling the players and the coaches I would hand them sunscreen. I bought the sunscreen. I just need you guys to put it on, because we've seen it. We've seen it here when we host the Wounded Warrior Trials the past 4 years. We get a lot of athletes that aren't from El Paso, and day one they don't put sunscreen on, and the rest of the week they're suffering from it.
I got to tell you, I was talking to the Brazilian official prior to the start of the game, and he reached in his pocket, pulled out that little chapstick, and put it up on his lips, and I was kind of like, well, I thought it was hot down in Brazil, and he said, yes, it is, but not this dry.
Right, and the players from the USA team during their training camp told me that they've been passing Vaseline around the barracks, and they've been running out of Vaseline because it's just they're not used to these dry conditions. And it's something I had to get used to moving from Germany. Here comes China again. They got numbers.
They're on the march, but they had an offsides call just then. They got a little bit ahead of themselves. Like the Brazilians, they're so aggressive and so anxious that they get caught with the offsides more than the norm.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily an offense to be in the offside position. You could stand in that offside position all day if you want, but once that ball is played to you by another player, that's when the infraction occurs.
That's correct. They're quick.
Yeah, Canada's not going to break. They get into the offensive half of the field, and China's right there.
I really just like the way that they transition to defense now. And we were talking about the Brazilian team earlier. Their transition from defense to offense was really something to behold. But China can drop back on defense really, really nice. Here comes the long pass over to the left side. Zhu Shan, she's going to dribble around one defender. Finds a little room on the left side, looking for a teammate in the center. She's got one. Traffic straight ahead. A glancing shot off the leg of one of the players, and it will go out beyond the goal line. But my point is, China can drop back on defense seemingly effortless. That's just the way they are. They're smooth. They're fluid.
They look completely comfortable out there tonight. Got to wonder what kind of tactical decisions the coach is going to make during the second half when it comes to substitutions.
Yeah, we shall see. They get 3 substitutions a ball game.
Yeah, in fact, during the training camp with the USA team, during the scrimmages, we had the same hydration break during the first and second half, halfway through the first and second half. And I told my boss, Mr. Sean Lewis, the sports director here at Fort Bliss, that, hey, you know what, get used to this, because I've seen even at the highest level of soccer, and that's a FIFA regulation, when it's too hot, they're going to take hydration breaks halfway through each half.
The amount of water that these teams have gone through since they've been here, that's really a bit of a surprise. That's one of the surprises, I should say.
That's my greatest surprise right there.
The
amount of water.
Consumed.
Correct. Yeah. But we prepared for that. We knew, especially teams come from other countries, how hot and dry it is here. Staying hydrated.
Oh, here's Canada. Breakaway on the right side. 1-on-1 shot, and out of the goal comes Trey G. She lines up neatly. A lot of courage. Builds that base, and she's ready to go right or left. The shot came right at her. Good job. Good play. Canada had an opportunity. Their first legitimate real shot on the goal tonight, and Clay G snuffs it out.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity. You can only hope that they would have had a better shot on goal with that opportunity. Who knows when they'll get that opportunity again against this Chinese defense.
Renee McClellan, number 14, goes over to kind of provide a little bit of a challenge, but China holds it all the way over on the left side. That's number 11, Li Yan. She's going to dribble, shoot towards the center. Was looking for her teammate over there, Zhu Shan, who already has a goal to her credit tonight, but just a little bit too far ahead of Zhu Shan, and it goes out.
Yeah, she had some targets right there in the middle, but unfortunately wasn't able to make that connection.
Li Yan has just really run up and down the left side of the field pretty much all night long. And we are into stoppage time.
And the fourth official puts 1 minute up for stoppage time.
I like that, but you've got to be looking over there in the direction of the fourth official. That 1 minute, in all honesty, that came from the water break, the hydration break. We have not taken much time out for injuries or players going down on the field, requiring the trainer to come onto the field here in the first half. It's been a pretty clean game, I think, Matt.
Yeah, it has. And in Canada, they'll have a second half to this game to make a statement here, but it's not going to be easy.
No.
Oh, and here's an opportunity. They got numbers up.
McClellan kicks it ahead. It's a race to the ball. You got 4-on-1 right now, and China comes away with it. Canada maintains possession, but a header by China gets it back up the center. Did you see the way they collapsed on the 4-on-1 situation? Right. And there is the time expires for the end of the first half as China takes a 3-0 lead over Canada as the first half comes to a close. 11 shots on goal, 3 saves by Alex Hogg of Canada, and 3 goals scored by China. 2 of the goals scored by Lu Yangwen, one at the 16-minute mark, the other at the 25-minute mark. And the second goal of the day, well, that one was scored by Zhu Shan. So China has taken a very controlling lead in the first half, and Matt, absolutely no surprises that we can see.
No, this is exactly what I expected from the Chinese team after watching their last performance. They have a strong team, and they're well prepared for this tournament.
Well, let me say, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you. We've been talking with Matt Orlowski here in the first period, one of our soccer experts here at Fort Bliss. Appreciate your insight in the game. Appreciate everything that not only you, but the folks at Fort Bliss have been doing to host this tournament. Again, it's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on and help you with this broadcast. It's been a pleasure.
It's not going to be your only time. We're going to get you back as well.
Okay.
Let's go to the public address. Ladies and gentlemen, as the first half has come to a close with China taking a 3-0 lead over Canada. Once again, we invite you to visit the concession stand located at the east end of Stout Field. Plenty of snacks, food, but most importantly, cold beverages to help you stay hydrated on this warm evening here at Fort Bliss. So that is the public address announcement. We're going to take a time out here, step aside, get ourselves something to drink, and practice what we preach, and that is staying just a little bit hydrated, even though we might be up in the press box. China leading Canada by the score of 3-0. We're at the half. We're going to step aside. We'll be back when we're ready to start the second half of play.
As a nation and as a military, we are proud to continue the valuable traditions promoting peace and friendship through sport. It's quite interesting and worth noting that General John Pershing, no stranger to Fort Bliss, as he served here earlier before he went to World War I, would be the force behind attempts to break down cultural and political barriers and promote friendship and morale among servicemen through sport as far back as 1919. It was his foresight and vision, recognizing the value of sport, that eventually led to the establishment of the CISM. And now, nearly a century later, we still strive for peace and harmony among the nations and recognize the value of the International Military Sports Council and moving nations closer to that lofty goal. So let us continue this tradition of friendly competition, sportsmanship, and camaraderie. May the friendships that will last a lifetime be established over the next 2 weeks, and may the best team win.
Your success will be measured not by how many goals you score, not by how many games you win, but the number of friends that you are going to make and the perpetuality of those friendships. So please, you need to note that very, very carefully. That is the motto of CISM.
Yeah. Welcome back to Stout Field here at Fort Bliss, Texas. We have just come out of the half between China and Canada, with China holding on to a 3-0 lead over Canada. Ready to start the second half of action. Earlier tonight, it was a draw between Korea and the Netherlands. China, who sits atop right now of Group A, is not going to, if they can help it, allow this one to end up in the same way. They have been on the aggression throughout most of this contest. In fact, knocked on the door multiple times. So welcome back to the broadcast. Matt Orlowski, sports specialist, supervisory sports specialist from Fort Bliss, and also our resident soccer guy here. There you go. We got your headset adjusted.
All right. So I always like to tell everybody here at Fort Bliss, too, especially the soldiers, I got the best job here at Fort Bliss because I'm the sports guy. I'm, the soldiers here that appreciate sports and love to play. I'm the first person they'll come see to get involved, to register their unit, or if they don't, if their unit doesn't have a team, they can find a team that they can play, another unit that they can play with. I'm always at the games. I watch all the games. I'm the guy they get to come and talk to about sports. They love to talk to me about, their favorite NFL team, favorite NBA team. And like I said, I tell my colleagues and my counterparts here in MWR that, I truly believe I have the best job here on Fort Bliss.
And you know what? For anybody that can stand there and say that they believe they've got the best job on Fort Bliss, that's quite a credit to what they're doing. It really is. My boss used to tell me many, many years ago, he said, Van, you got the best job in the United States Army. And that was many, many years ago, as I said. And you know what? He was right. I did. I had the best job in the United States Army. My job at that point in time was to be a regional sports coordinator in Europe and travel around multiple communities, working with every sport and working with the sports staff of every community over there, particularly in 5th Corps, and then on down to United States Army Europe. And it was one of the best jobs in the Army. So I can empathize a little bit when you feel such a sense of fulfillment and gratification to be able to work with soldiers and providing programs that have value and worth to what they're doing. And they really enjoy it. And they let you know they appreciate it. That's the other payback. I mean, that's a big payback, if you will.
Oh yeah, it's for me, it's the greatest reward. obviously we have our own rewards program within MWR and MCOM, where, of course, like similar to other organizations, you got your employee of the month, your team member of the month, if you will. Here we also, for MWR here at Fort Bliss, we have the Winner Circle Award. But so far, the greatest reward that I've gotten was a few years ago when I was running intramural softball program for the 1st Armored Division, and I had a first sergeant from his company who was participating in softball came and gave me his command coin and just said, you know, you run a great softball program, appreciate everything you do. And that right there was better than any Employee of the Month certificate I could have received from my boss.
Soldiers are, they're very quick to step up and say thank you. I mean, but that comes with the territory. And respect, gratitude, appreciation, it's always a two-way street. Number one, you have to appreciate the uniformed service member for going out and doing all they can do. But then when it comes to, well, Matt, folks like yourself who work hard to provide opportunities for them to be engaged with those things that they really enjoy. Now, it could be something away from the soccer pitch. It could be some other kind of sport perhaps, but they're always grateful and appreciative of the opportunities that people like you help provide.
Yeah, it's a great reward, especially when, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I have a twin brother who recently graduated from Special Forces in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He's a Special Forces captain, headed in a few months to Stuttgart to join 10th Group, and it just makes it more rewarding knowing, having somebody that close to my family that serves this country and being able to indirectly help other service members here at Fort Bliss, not directly working with my brother, but being able to help other service members that are in this community that more or less perform similar duties serving this country.
Nice job by Renee McClellan clearing it out. It gives you that empathy, and the bottom line is you get to provide the kind of services to these soldiers around here that hopefully somebody might be in a position to provide to, well, people like your brother who's in special ops. So that's kind of the way it all fits together. See what China can do. They're going to come down on the right side. That is Lu Yanquin. She's going to pass to the center just a little bit too wide,
wow.
And it's a goal! Goal, China! Wow is right. Take us back through that, Matt. You saw a couple of crisp passes, and one of them, the last one, was right smack on the money. Went absolutely beautiful shot into the net.
Oh, yeah, and what we saw right there in the great communication from the player in the middle who let the ball go between her legs to her teammate on the opposite side of the field who probably had a better shot on goal than she did, and that was great communication right there, and a very, very selfless act to be right in front of goal receiving a pass and just let it going to your teammate instead of taking the shot yourself.
Li Yan picks up the goal. That goal came in the 50th minute of this game, 4-0 China. Now, the first thing you got to do is have an awareness of your teammate who's back behind you to let that ball go by you and not try to capitalize on it yourself. It's not about vainglory, and it's not about what you can get, but who's got the best shot, you or the one behind you. And that time she did a great job of allowing Li Yan to go after it.
And that can be difficult for an offensive player too. To be a successful offensive player and score goals, you have to be selfish in a lot of situations. But definitely that situation, it was the right decision to make, to just let the ball go by and let your teammate who had probably a better angle on goal to score that goal.
Well, right now China has got 12 shots on goal compared to only 1 by Canada. And, of course, they found the net with 4 of those shots. 4 saves on the night by Alex Hogg as well. Here comes Canada. They're going to try to turn it around, but China very quick to drop back on defense. Getting it out far away on the left side is Tan Shan. Control soccer, quickness. There's a good long pass, a foot race down the left side. Hogg's going to come out of the goal and turn it back around.
Yeah, a little bit of a sweeper keeper right there coming out of the box, more or less playing as an additional defender.
There's always a danger in that, of course, but it's a risk. But nonetheless, that's what veterans like Alex Hogg can really calculate the risk and make the right play. She'll come out again as trying to chase it down was Lu Yanquin. So as nighttime has settled here in El Paso, Texas, so is China right now settling on Canada.
Yeah, it might be nighttime, and from the press box, we got the only air conditioning in the area. It may look, when you look out the window, it may look as cool as it feels in this press box, but it's still about 90 degrees out there in El Paso.
It's pretty hot. Couple seated down in the second row of the bleachers with the big Canadian flag. And they have not had a whole lot to cheer about here with Team Canada as they now trail 4-0. And here comes China once again. Again over to the right side, Lu Yanquin. Good control, dribbles up. Comes back to Yanquin after the pass. Back up again, over to the right side. Good foot that time by Wang Yinfi. And Renee McClellan's going to turn it around.
Oh.
Wong Ri moving it around nicely, back on the defensive side. Boy, they are playing the sideline, aren't they, Matt?
Yeah, they're making it difficult for this Canada team, and I'm wondering what kind of motivational speech the coach gave his Canada team at halftime. They're still without a goal here at this tournament for Bliss. And even though the score right now is definitely one-sided, it might be a bit of a moral victory if they can get a goal in this third game.
When Canada tied the Netherlands, 0-0, no goals scored in that game, but they came away with the draw. It was a moral victory of sorts.
It wasn't a bad way to start the tournament either.
Not at all. Not at all.
Especially in this group when you have teams that are as dominant as China and Korea.
Well, Canada has been here in the past and not come away with group points. So they picked up one group point as a result of the tie. And anytime you're going to start a tournament and you do pick up at least 1 point and you pick up 3 for a win, they couldn't get that. They finished with a draw, so they did pick up one group point. You know what? When you leave here, you're going to say, well, we got a point at least in group standings, and that counts for a lot. Clay G.
And, of course, we talked about soccer not being the dominant sport yet here in the U.S. I don't think it's quite the dominant sport in Canada yet either. I think most sports take backseat to hockey in Canada.
Yeah, you got a comment out of Steve Denote on that one. I think you mentioned hockey and he beams. He can relate. Hockey and curling, perhaps, and well, maybe a couple of other outdoor sports. So China getting ready to mount another attack, perhaps against Canada, but they're really taking their times and setting things up on their half of the field before they decide to go forward. They allow out all the troops to get into place. Control it in the center. Look to the right side. There's the pass down the right side. Lu Yanguin, she's going to move towards the goal. Back to the center, and they're going to call her for offsides.
Yeah, I got to give credit to the officials at this tournament. When talking to the USA coach before the tournament, kind of picking his brain, asking questions, what to expect from this tournament. Being an official myself, I asked about the officials. And the way CISM operates is each country that's participating will provide 2 officials, FIFA-certified officials from their country, and when they get here, they are more or less teamed up together. Of course, they won't officiate their own country. They'll officiate the other countries. And a comment that the coach made was not all officials are created equal. Some of these countries don't have as prestigious soccer leagues as others. But from what I've seen from these games is outstanding work from these officials that do not work together regularly. There is a bit of a language barrier. I asked some of the Canadian officials about that the other day. They had mentioned that some of the officials from the Asian countries like Korea and China, there is a bit of a language barrier, but there hasn't been a fall off for these officiating staffs. They've done a great job.
Substitution. So 15 goes out of the game for China. That's going to be Liu Yangwen. And coming into the game is number 9 for China.
Number 9 in soccer is usually your goal scorer, so it looks like they may have brought on another goal scorer with some fresh legs.
That's going to be Yifan Wu.
Let's see if she's able to make an immediate impact on this game, as she's already on the ball.
She's got fresh legs.
And fouled immediately. Already making an impact.
Watch her run. She glides down the field, but again, she's only been out there for less than a minute. She's got those fresh legs behind her. But you're right, she's going to make an impact. Liu Yangwen has been running up and down the field as a wing on each side, so she's going to get that rest. Hall comes out and she's going to bring it back. We're in the 58th minute here, and China holds a 4-0 lead over Canada. I'm pretty impressed by the way some of these women goalies are just able to really boot the ball down the field too. They get great distance from their kicks.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of athleticism from a lot of these ladies on these different teams here at Fort Bliss. Especially with the game we got to watch last night between Brazil and Bahrain. Yep. Now, Brazil has a very strong team, and they scored several goals last night.
9 to be exact.
But having said that, the goalkeeper from Bahrain did a tremendous job. I can't remember how many saves she had, but it could have been a lot higher score if she had not been standing between the posts.
You're talking about the goalkeeper Abdullah from last night from Bahrain, and I will tell you that, very seldom when they leave the field is the goalkeeper who is one that maybe has expended the most energy. But last night, Abdullah was one of the players from Bahrain that had expended the most energy. I really felt that.
And I'm pretty sure she had double-digit saves.
She did. It's interesting, too, when you watch the World Cup on TV, all the statistics now that they're keeping in this game. They never used to keep this years ago, but everything from good passes to
time of possession.
It's just really interesting the way statistics has come in to this sport. And this being, of course, in my humble opinion, really the least changed since its foundation over a century ago, the least changed of all the sports that are played on an international basis.
Yeah. And in professional soccer, the statistics they have these days don't necessarily correlate with the results. You see a lot of times statistics where teams will have a higher percentage of ball possession, more shots on goal, but aren't always the teams that come out victorious at the end of the game.
Well, go back to the last game that we just saw, Korea and the Netherlands. Was not that the story there?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Korea with...
Let's grab hold of that score sheet if we can from Korea, and just to kind of make the point of what we were talking about. We got Korea with 26 shots on goal. 26 shots on goal compared to only 6 shots on goal. Compared to only 6 shots on goal for the Netherlands. And how'd that game end, Matt? Draw.
0-0.
0-0, exactly. So you're right. The statistics, the outcome of the game is not always tied to statistics. But when it comes to describing the game, and you got a 0-0 tie, that's when you do kind of lean on the statistics to see who's got the time of possession, who's got the most shots, who's got the most saves, who's got the most corner kicks, who was the aggressive the most time, where did we spend the most time on the field, which half of the field did most of the play take place, and that sort of look.
Definitely shows coaches areas where they can improve. If it's areas of, maybe they don't have enough possession or they don't have enough shots on goal.
Definitely, definitely. Well, here comes China again. Let's see what they can do. Li Yan. China content to try to set things up in their own end of the field. McClellan's going to slide in and knock it away. Nice job by Renee McClellan out in the center of the field. And how about that? You got Jessica Hahn playing a real tight defense. Hogg comes out, and she'll get it back in. Can't believe that tomorrow will be the 8th day of this tournament.
Yeah, it's been going by very fast.
Gold medal match set up for the 3rd of July. That's going to be at 7 p.m. here Mountain Time. Here comes Canada. But here comes the defenders for China.
Yeah, and once again, they snuffed out that attack pretty quickly.
Long pass. Left side. Tan Shan boots it long. Race for the ball. Hogg comes out. She's going to boot it back down to midfield. McClellan will make the stop. Over to Childs. Childs going to get it out to the right side. Childs to McClellan.
Canada on the offense now.
You know, we talked about the rules of soccer. Correct me if I'm wrong, 17 of them.
Yes, and they're actually referred to as laws, not rules.
They're referred to as laws, and I made the comment that, well, they keep it as simple as they can possibly keep it, because some of the rules pertain to the ball, some of the rules pertain to the field, and not that many rules actually can pertain to the play up on the field. I mean, some of those are basically how to set the whole thing up. But one of the least changed, and of course the most popular sport around the world, but you go back in the origins of soccer, the modern version, you can trace that all the way back to 1863 in Old England. Here comes China. Right side, once again. That's Wang Yanfi. She'll get it back to the center. Li Yan.
We see a little chip over the top, just a little too much.
Yeah, a little too much. But the oldest version of soccer, you ready for this? Recorded in the 3rd century BC, where, of all places, China.
Wow. They say that's where pasta comes from, too, originally. And I thought it was Italy.
So there's a couple little factoids that you just might want to hang on to.
Interesting. Yeah, we definitely, and we've seen some rule changes over the years as well. Most significantly this year at the World Cup with the video assistant referee.
You know, and one of the big changes, I think, with technology is the fact that, yeah, you've got the assistant referees, but one of the big changes, in my humble opinion, as a result of technology, is the headset and the microphones that allow these officials to talk to each other during the game through their headsets. Yeah. And they've done that very, very effectively.
And with the technology becoming cheaper and more accessible to others, we actually have a few officials in high school soccer here in El Paso where we have high school games where we will use headsets.
That's impressive.
And it makes a whole lot of difference when you're able to communicate with your ARs on the side. In the past, it was more or less hand signals, a few voice commands when you're close enough. But now, especially on those quick breaks down the side, you're able. The center ref who's trailing is able to communicate with the AR on the side and say, keep a close eye, signal me with the flag if you see anything that happens.
Of course, AR on the side stands for assistant ref. Oh, by the way, we get all of our information from the FIFA website. And I encourage you to go there, learn about the game, but also learn about what's going on. FIFA.com. You can stay up with all the action in the World Cup.
Yeah, and what's been great being here in El Paso with the time difference, the World Cup being in Russia, is I can wake up in the morning and watch some World Cup action before I go to work.
Substitution, by the way, Matt. That's going to be number 14 out of the game for Canada.
Looks like McClellan's out.
That's McClellan. And coming into the game for Canada, that's going to be number 15. That's going to be Joe Blodgett.
All right, so it looks like Canada opted for a change on offense. Let's hope she can make an impact for Canada.
Quick takeaway from China coming down the left side, the right side. Yufan Wu, the substitute into the game for China. Dribble around, straightaway shot, straight ahead, and it's going to drift to the left. I think Hall got a little piece of that, glanced it perhaps off to the left side.
No, the referee's going to signal a goal kick. So offensive player for China was able to beat the defender directly in front of her, but could not find the back of the net.
That's simply the pressure that time, I think, from the defensive player in front of her.
Well, I think at this point China can afford to miss a few shots on goal.
Yep, I fully concur on that one. Fully concur. But now here's one thing that I like about soccer, perhaps one of the least changed, and as we've told you, trace it all the way back to merry old England back in 1863 and really trace it back in BC times, and it's recorded notes back in China. But one of the things I really like about it, I'll take the technology that allows the referee and the first assistant, second assistant, and the fourth official to talk with each other during the contest, but there's no video replays. You keep the human element in soccer.
Correct. And FIFA's made that point clear with implementing the new VAR they have in the World Cup, that they're not taking any authority away from that the center official, the primary official that works in the center of the field. They'll communicate with him when they believe there's something he should go review, but ultimately it's his decision if he's going to overrule his own call, which I think is the right approach to make. And of course, VAR, this is still brand new technology in soccer, so it's in its infancy. I'm sure they're working out kinks, and I'm sure we'll see further developments as it's continued to be used at the World Cup level and other countries that may begin to implement it as well.
Now here's my question to you as China tries to set it up now defensively. Long pass straight ahead, but knocked down, blocked very nicely in the midfield. That was by Shauna Mackey. And Canada trying to look for a run down the right side, but getting over there quickly is Tan Shan, and she's going to deny anything from the right side on the part of Canada. But my question to you is, you got the headsets on the officials. Is there a chief official up in the booth or up in the box somewhere looking down on the field that has communication with the referee on the field?
Yeah, and that would be the VAR. And we've seen already situations at the World Cup in Russia where a call isn't made or a call is made, and they'll receive instructions from, well, I say instructions, they'll receive word from the VAR through the headset saying, hey, you may want to take a second look at what just transpired and maybe change your decision or maybe not. But like I said, ultimately they're not taking the decision making out of the center officials' hands. But yeah, the VAR does have direct communication with the center official, let him know if he may have missed something or maybe review something. And there's certain plays that are reviewed in soccer. As we see China coming down the left wing, she's looking for make a connection in the middle.
She's waiting for her truth, but Canada steps in, tries to clear it. There's a shot on goal, and it's a goal. China scores again, a couple of deflections.
And I believe that's their substitute, number 9, Wu, that came on during this second half.
Yufan Wu steps in and just makes good on coming into this game midway through the second half here, and comes away with a goal. And that is going to take us to the water break. As they head over to the side, coming right off of the boot by Yufan Wu. Wu came into this game just about 10 minutes ago, and we saw the freshness of her legs. It's 1-9, not number 9. Let's give that one to Lee Yu-yun and not Wu. But we saw Wu come into the game nonetheless. She had fresh legs. Credit, though, Wu helping to set some things up. So they're going to give the goal to 1-9.
And similar to the second goal that China scored tonight, just took a few unlucky bounces there in the box, landed right at the foot of the Chinese attacker, who just all had to do was slide it into one of the corners of the net.
Well, the problem with Canada is they couldn't clear it. And if you're going to let them hang around there, then you're going to have to expect something like that to happen. So, wow. Just like that, China moves ahead on the score. They put the 5th goal up on the board, and China done with their water break. First one's back on the field. Again, it's a well-conditioned team.
Yeah, and I had the privilege the other day of watching them practice when they first got here to El Paso, and some of our practice fields also turf. Of course, it's hard for grass to grow here in the desert. First thing they notice is maybe they brought the wrong shoes with them from China. And the following day, they made a trip to the outlet mall here to buy some new shoes for this surface.
Is that right? They're not. I don't think they're used to synthetic surface in China. I could be wrong.
I know in Germany we had synthetic surface, but depending on which country you're in, synthetic surfaces tend to be a little different.
Well, now the American communities in Germany had synthetic surfaces, but did the German venues have synthetic surfaces?
Yes, they did. And actually, when I was talking to Mr. Rudy Fell the other evening when we were watching the game, he reminded me that the synthetic fields in Germany actually have irrigation systems built underneath the surface. And what they tend to do in Germany before a match is they'll use the irrigation system to make the surface wet before the game starts, so it's not as dry. When players slide on the ground, they won't get that rug burn. But
that's very interesting because it also could create a little bit of slipperiness between the shoe and the surface.
The ball also moves a lot faster. But here at Fort Bliss, we opted for no irrigation system for our turf field.
There's your cross shot off the head, and it's going to go to the left side of the goal. And China is playing absolutely in a dominating, relentless type manner right now. They could add easily 2 or 3 more goals before this thing ends. We're in the 75-minute mark.
In Germany, they have a saying, probably also have it here in the U.S., where they refer to this situation as a game of cat and mouse.
Explain it. I mean, I get it, but explain it for our listeners.
Well, if anyone is familiar with the cartoon TV series Tom and Jerry, in this situation, Canada would be the mouse, and China's just having their way, playing around with more or less playing with their food.
That's a pretty good word picture about that, because that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Is China has a 5-0 lead over Canada, and we talked about the popularity of soccer around the world. You ready for this? 265 million people playing soccer around the world. If you put them all together on one body of land, they would be the 4th largest country in the world. That's a lot of soccer players around the world. That comes up to 4% of the world's population, as a matter of fact.
And here's Canada on offense. Let's see if they can.
But look, you got 4 on 2 right now. Make that 5 if you count the 5th defender from China on the other side. As I said earlier, Matt, they get back down the field quickly.
Yeah, they have their transition from offense to defense is seamless.
265 million people playing around the world. Guess what? 10% of them are women. Kind of typifies some of the trends that we're seeing in our own country in terms of the percentage type figures.
In fact, the last Women's World Cup was played in Canada on synthetic turf.
Vancouver, if I recall.
I believe Vancouver was one of the venues. Yes. But it was the first FIFA international tournament where
China's free. Oh, no.
Where they decided to play on synthetic turf instead of grass.
Hogg is going to clear it out now as everybody moves back. Long way down. Canada's going to try to maintain control, but not if China can help it. Canada will take it back, and they're going to try to set it up. Going to be a free kick. Canada on the right side. In your own words, why is this the world's game?
Well, I'm going to refer to what I heard the other day on the radio. And compared to other sports, soccer is a fairly low-maintenance sport. You got countries that aren't necessarily as rich as others, don't have the opportunities that players in other countries have. But what they do have is maybe a soccer ball and a pair of shoes that they can spread out and make a goal.
You're right.
More or less, to play the game of soccer, you really just need a soccer ball.
That's it.
Play shirts and skins, play in the streets. So I think that's why the world's kind of adopted this game. You see it on TV all the time. Countries in Africa, South America, even in Europe.
Ooh, good job. Good steal that time. Nice challenge, but credit Yufan Wu. And I think you're 100% right, Matt. All you need is a ball, a field, a couple of players. You can make your own goal and take off from there. Not an expensive sport to play, and again, kind of low maintenance. You don't need a whole lot of uniforms sometimes. Just as you said, shirts and skins. And played by young kids that will call their own games. You don't need the great officials. I mean, playground soccer, like a better description. You go into a foreign country and you see them playing in the alleyways. You see them playing on vacant lots, wherever they can set up a field. That's kind of the way it goes. Long shot, Hogg goes back, knocks it up and knocks it away. Nice play that time by Alex Hogg. That was a little drifting shot that was seeking the right side of the net but didn't get there.
And we saw a lot of those drifting shots go in the goal in some previous games, so credit to Alex Hogg on that save.
You know, we gave you the stats about soccer around the world, 265 million people playing this game around the world. There are 26 million soccer players in China. That's the number one country in terms of the amount of people who play soccer in the country of China. And that's, you know, you would think if you've got 26 million people playing in China, and I don't know how many are in the military in China, but it should be pretty easy to find a pretty good women's team, and that's what we've seen tonight in the Chinese military team. The United States, they're number two. They got 24 million people. And Canada, 2.6 million players in the game of soccer up in Canada.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I believe Canada is a little more preoccupied with hockey.
Yeah, they have probably 3 times that number of hockey players. Maybe. I don't know. So rather than talk about things that I don't know a whole lot about, off to the side, we've got a substitution. Looks like number 18 going out of the game for Canada. That's going to be Joycelyn Coe, and coming in, it's going to be number 29. That's going to be Stacey Cousin. '81-minute mark, and it's 5-0 China. But you know, Matt, that really is some of the purest form of play when you see young kids with a soccer ball out in an alley or out in a vacant lot with no adults around, making up their own game, and then serving as their own officials. I like to see that. Long leading pass, but it's going to be offside. China gets ahead of itself just a little bit more. And I always love it when I'm traveling around the world at different places to come upon one of those pickup games of soccer with kids playing. I like it. Canada trying to get active. Emma Owen in the middle tries to get things turned around. Also for Canada, you see out there Jo Blodgett in on the action. She came in as a sub not too long ago. And China once again content to set things up in the backfield. Out of bounds on the right side. Remember, you can follow Armed Forces Sports Championship events all over social media. Our late-breaking tournament news is on Twitter. You can look up, searching the handle U.S. Military Sport. That's not U.S. Military Sports, but U.S. Military Sport on Twitter. For match wrap-ups and great photos, follow and like us on Facebook. And, well, you're watching us now on the live stream on Facebook, and wherever you are, we are glad you are doing so. Canada going to boot it out on the far side near the corner. China with the throw in. Pass one defender, pass two, back to the center, shot, and it is goal! China! They are not playing around. The throw in, pass one defender, pass two defenders, the lineup for the shot. Hogg came out and did not have an opportunity for the stop. 6-0 is the score. That came off of the foot of number 12. That is Zhang Tong. Zhang Tong with the goal. One of the substitutes in this game.
And that's really a strong point for China, too. When they have players that can come off the bench and make an impact like the substitutes have for China, it doesn't get any better than that.
You know, it's a program that has depth. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it's not easy being a substitute either. Everybody wants to start in soccer. Like I said, you got to be a little selfish when you're a soccer player if you want to be a high-caliber soccer player. But to come off the bench and be a team player, and China on the ball again. Got Canada pinned in their own box. Canada able to clear. They have possession of the ball. See what they can move it up the field. China already moving back on defense, and it'll be China's ball.
China does not look like they're wearing down in the least.
No, their coach might even give them the day off tomorrow. These teams do have practice schedules daily in between their games. But because of the heat here in El Paso, some of them have opted to cancel some of their practices. And sometimes I wonder if it's a direct result from the game they played the night before.
It's hard to say, but I would venture to say this much, and that is if there's a way you can earn a day off, if China hadn't earned it, I'd hate to say what they have to do to get a day off.
And that would be called a reward system.
Which is really not all bad, is it? A reward system?
It's not. But I must say, today I caught the team from France over at our Soldier Activity Center hanging out by the pool out back, catching some sun and dipping in the pool. And I don't believe that's a direct positive reward from the result they had the other night.
No, and the result you're talking about is their loss to Brazil 3-0 after they had beaten Germany 6-0. France then lost to Brazil, which was a rematch, if you will, of the 2016 CISM Championship.
And, of course, both of those countries have respective national teams that are very strong soccer programs as well. Here come China again on the offense.
Offense, left side, long shot. Hogs out of the goal, and it's going to come up just shy of the goal. Hogg had to backtrack, but she got there after it took the first bounce and got it away. And, you know, we've been talking about some of these powerhouses, but you take a look at the World Cup. And where's Argentina today? Where's Germany today? Historically, powerhouses.
Right. You know what? I know a lot of Germans that are asking the same question. But it's been a trend from, if you look at the previous 5 World Cups, all the countries that have won have been eliminated in the group stage at the next World Cup.
Another shot, but blocked nicely that time by Canada. Well, I happen to think it's just kind of parity around the world. I mean, it's not that these strong countries are coming down as much as maybe these other countries might be coming up, if you know what I mean. They will hire the best coach they can find. It doesn't make any difference whether they're from that country or not. They're going to bring them in to develop the program.
Yeah, I think being a coach for a national team's got to be a difficult job because you don't work with these players every day or every week or even every month. They play international games throughout the year, a few times throughout the year, and then it's just motivating these players that get together for these big tournaments like the World Cup or the Euro Cup or the Copa America. They play with different club teams a lot of times in different countries, and it really takes a lot from those coaching staff to really motivate those national teams to compete on the biggest, sometimes the biggest stage, like the World Cup.
But that said, there's a lot of pressure too because those coaches are often paid pretty good salaries. But you see countries like South Korea, you see Croatia coming up, and I mean, you have to take your hat off to them. You really do.
It only makes the game better when you don't want the same countries on top all the time.
Again, right side, Wong Yin Fei, she'll center the ball. Boot out to the left side for Canada. And they're actually going to control this.
And with about a minute left in this game, I don't think there's much Canada's going to be able to do.
Not much.
Maybe get a consolation goal out of this, but it's going to be tough in this last minute to get past the Chinese defense.
Chinese is not going to allow it. They still got 3 defenders deep back. You know that?
Yeah, very disciplined team.
You know, in describing this Chinese team very quickly, Matt, I would say the 2 words that pop out to me, and you just said one of them, discipline. Actually, 3 words: discipline, personal skill, and teamwork. That's how I would describe this Chinese team. And unless Korea can find the answer on the 30th of June, we're going to probably, or very possibly, I should say, be looking at China and Brazil going for the gold medal.
Yeah, that would be a matchup I'd love to watch. Both teams, no one's been able to crack their defense yet.
Left side, China stays in control.
1 minute of stoppage time being added to the 90th minute.
That's not much, but then again, we haven't had a lot of injuries. Substitutions have been pretty efficient, and the water timeout, 1 minute. The top 10 sports in Canada, you ready for this? You got it. Hockey, lacrosse, Canadian football, baseball, cricket, and then number 6, soccer. 2.6 million people playing soccer is what we said. Behind that, you got rugby and then basketball, curling, and wrestling. That's the top 10 in terms of popularity in Canada. I feel like David Letterman. I should have gone down the top 10 list, starting from 10, working my way down to 1. But always appreciative of the information that comes our way.
I don't think 1 would have been a surprise to anybody.
No. Again,
China's still on offense.
they are still on offense.
Yeah, and this reminds me of a coach I had in Germany several years ago. One thing he said to us after we had a defeat against one of our opponents, probably not 6-0, maybe 3-0, maybe 2-0, 4-0. But he was upset because after a defeat where we weren't able to score a single goal, we also didn't concede any yellow cards or red cards. And in his opinion, the fact that we lost without conceding any penalties means we didn't fight hard enough to win the game.
And I can relate to that. As there is your game, as the stoppage time has expired, and that is the end of the match, as China has defeated Canada by the score of 6-0. And from the get-go, this was China all the way. 20 shots on goal. They scored 6 times tonight. Only 1 real strong, legitimate shot for Canada. 9 saves on the evening for Alex Hogg. She did a good job in the goal. Tlei Ji in the goal for China, not really tested tonight. China's first goal came at the 16-minute mark. That was scored by Liu Yangqin. And then at the 22-minute mark, her teammate, Zhu Shan, scored. When Liu Yangqin came back again and scored her second goal 3 minutes after that. And at the 25-minute mark, China was ahead 3-0. That's the way they went into the half, and then coming out in the second half, at the 49-minute mark, Li Yan scored. Li Yan's goal was followed by Lu Yangguin's goal, and then the final goal of the night, that came from number 12, Zhang Tong, the sixth goal, the final goal of the night for China. Matt, no surprises out there, and clearly China has set themselves up as maybe not just the team in Group A, but the team that might be the team to beat in the tournament.
Yeah, they've definitely impressed. This for their first time participating in the CISM Women's Military World Cup, and they've made a clear statement in the games that they played here. And I look forward to seeing them play some more games.
And I will say this is one of the cleanest matches we saw on the field tonight. Sportsmanship high with both teams. You saw just good sportsmanship, not a lot of injuries. When one player went down, someone from the other team was right there to extend a hand and maybe help them up. So good, clean game. I thought it was well officiated, but clearly the dominant team tonight. That is the country of China.
I agree, and plenty of goals. That's the criticism I think we get the most in this country from people that aren't fans of soccer, is there's not enough scoring. Definitely got 6 goals tonight.
Matt Orlowski, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you here this evening. We'll hope to get you back up here on the microphone as we continue down this road in the Military World Cup.
Thank you, Van. I'll be here all week.
We're glad of it. Well, we're looking forward to tomorrow as the 2018 CISM Women's World Football Championship coverage continues with Group B action. Bahrain will meet Germany. That's going to be at 8 o'clock Mountain Time here from Fort Bliss, Texas. 10 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 p.m. on the West Coast. Remember, check into Armed Forces Sports social media channels like Facebook and Twitter for the latest live stream listings. And as always, visit armedforcesports.com for the latest in match schedules. Well, that's going to do it from Stoutfield here tonight. 0-0 in game number 1 today. That was the Netherlands and the Republic of South Korea. And here in game 2, it was China 6 and Canada nothing. So for our broadcast crew tonight, for Mr. Steve Tenote, for Matt Orlowski, and for all of those here at Stoutfield, until next time, I'm Van Stokes saying so long, everyone.